Hi, my name is Ariana Rubicaba. This is my project on the drug ketamine. I made a PowerPoint and I will attach it to this as well. But I just downloaded the PowerPoint on my phone, so I'm just going to do this. So ketamine, a drug also known as Special K. What is it? Ketamine is a medication mainly used for starting and maintaining anesthesia. And it induces a trance-like state while providing pain relief, sedation, and memory loss. Ketamine was first synthesized in 1962 by Calvin L. Stevens, a professor of chemistry at Wayne State University. Stevens named it C1581, and his discovery came out of the search for PCP replacements. On August 3, 1964, ketamine was given to a human being for the very first time. That night, he described to his wife in utter amazement because he was fully awake, but he felt like he just wasn't there. What are ketamine's side effects? Ketamine effects usually begin within 5 minutes from taking the drug, and its main effects are lasting up to 25 minutes. It can make you hallucinate or feel as though you are losing touch with reality. And it might also help build new connections or synapses between neurons, electrifying new parts of your brain. Throughout the 1970s, the drug began to be distributed worldwide, from Australia to Argentina to even Southeast Asia. By the end of the 70s, the FDA was worried about ketamine being on the streets. In the 80s, it became a popular club drug, gaining nicknames like Special K and Cat Valium. From this time on, ketamine has made its way into the mainstream party scene, showing its growth in techno clubs, concerts, and raves. Ketamine was added to the emerging drug list in 1995, noting its use across the country. Recently, in 2019, a form of ketamine was approved by the FDA as an antidepressant. How does ketamine actually work? Ketamine is what scientists call a dirty drug. That means it doesn't just target one part of your brain, but dozens. It has a weak effect on opiate receptors in the dopamine system, which drugs like heroin and cocaine target. But most importantly, ketamine manipulates a neurotransmitter called glutamate, earning the attention of psychiatrists nationwide. What is glutamate? Glutamate is what many of the neurons in your brain use to communicate with each other, and honestly, without it, your brain would essentially shut down. It's kind of like a city with no power. Now, at high doses, ketamine seems to block glutamate, and that is why it is such an effective anesthetic. But in low doses, like what you might find at a club or in the FDA-approved drug esketamine, it actually ramps up glutamate production, and that comes with all kinds of side effects. So it is hard to deny that ketamine's effects on depression sound promising, and clearly it is a useful sedative. But here's the thing. There is still a lot about ketamine that we don't know. Because ketamine manipulates so many different parts of your brain, it's been hard to nail down all of them. So it is still unclear how it might affect different patients short-term and long-term. And researchers still haven't figured out how to preserve its benefits as an antidepressant. If you give a patient ketamine every day, perhaps you can't, because it would be substance abuse, because eventually it would be harming the brain. So it can't be used as a drug every single day. Therefore, doctors and FDA don't really know how it can be beneficial. Is ketamine dangerous? When it honestly comes down to it, ketamine in large doses can be very dangerous. And if the drug's used irresponsibly, it can be very dangerous. It is not naturally occurring. The drug is not plant-based, and honestly, its side effects are very scary. Can ketamine help? When people are stressed for a long time, they suffer from depression for a period of time, they start to lose certain neurotransmitters in their brain. These neurotransmitters are called neuroconnections. And when you give them ketamine, in 24 hours or so, it can be those connections can be reversed and your brain can look more normal. But again, you can't give a patient this drug every single day because it would harm the brain. So therefore, is it beneficial? Therefore, though, doctors believe that perhaps ketamine is working by regenerating these connections that are needed for normal brain functioning. Which means that ketamine could possibly be the best drug for treating severe depression. Because other antidepressants don't work like ketamine, other antidepressants such as Zoloft or Prozac, they usually take months or weeks, not sometimes even months, to kick in and see results. And those drugs regulate serotonin, which is another chemical released by the brain, which has been long tied to depression. So that's why ketamine has been proved to work better than those other traditional antidepressants. Although these traditional drugs do work, though, for certain patients, obviously not for everyone. So, pros and cons of ketamine. Pros, ketamine can be used as a surgical tool to patients in a somewhat pleasant way, while not using anesthesia that can be more toxic and dangerous to the body. Ketamine in low doses would be less dangerous than consuming anesthetics in high doses. There are more cons of ketamine than there are pros. Cons of ketamine it can be a very dangerous drug, and users that use it irresponsibly can sometimes result in death. Although rare, there are several cases of people dying on ketamine. Most reported causes of death from ketamine toxicity is not due to the drug itself, but due to the drug being mixed up with other substances such as fentanyl, ethanol, and alcohol. Ketamine is not a drug that you want to mix with any other chemical, so therefore it can be extremely harmful if it is mixed with any drug such as fentanyl, ethanol, or alcohol. Usually the deaths, though, that are caused by ketamine are not by the actual toxicity of the drug, but the behaviors that are caused by the drug. For instance, in 2011, a young girl was watching TV with a friend. They took some ketamine. Her friend fell asleep. She took a bath and drowned after falling asleep in the bathtub. Or in 2010, when a middle-aged man in California suffocated after taking ketamine and lying down in a downward-facing yoga position. Ketamine can literally make your body go into a tranquilized state, and it can completely tranquilize your body. And if you take it in high doses or irresponsible doses, it can be extremely, extremely dangerous. Therefore, there's more cons than there pros. So while the FDA approval is considered a victory for millions of people with treatment-resistant depression, doctors still caution that ketamine can actually be beneficial. Therefore, ketamine should only be used as a last resort in situations where it is dealing with antidepressants. And that is ketamine.